fucking scoot back a little so I guess so I don't punch the microphone. Hey, come listen to our podcast, yeah. Please listen, it's a hitch. If you don't listen to our podcast, yeah, then you are a bitch.
Welcome to Filmoscopy, a podcast where two friends come together to talk about a movie that one of them has selected. Joining me today is Lance.
Hello.
And Owen is unfortunately tied up at the moment in my cellar. No, Owen is busy, so he's not going to be on this week's episode.
We'll go ahead and give him a birthday shout out. Happy birthday, baby boy. You're not going to listen to this, but maybe your girlfriend will. And
happy birthday, Tweety Bird. Today we are talking about Men in Black.
Take two.
We had some technical difficulties with both the Men in Black episode and the Fugitive episode, so we will have to re-record them both. But never fear, we are 95% certain we're going to stay on track this year.
It's always 95%. It's fine, you know.
Yeah, I hope so anyway. But before we get into talking about Men in Black, we want to discuss a couple of other topics. Lance suggested that we talk about the Book of Boba Fett since the first episode released a couple of days ago. So I'll let you kick that off.
Okay, and we will try to remember to put a stamp for anybody that doesn't care about Boba Fett or doesn't want to be spoiled by it. Will not hear any spoilers.
And Boba Fett knows how to spoil you good.
Yes, he does. He spoiled the plans of the rebellion in Empire Strikes Back, and he's going to spoil the plans of my heart over the next month and a half. Well, first and foremost, I was extremely excited for Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett to come out, and the episode was good, I would say. I watched a couple of people's reviews of the episode first before I watched it, because I'm like, it's just the first episode. I was really curious about just the Sarlacc escaping part, and for that I'm glad they had this scene in there where he escapes it, but I wish that it was more elaborate. He fought more, and it was just kind of like, I understand they probably didn't want to put the whole CGI thing into the Sarlacc and make it more as elaborate as they tried to in Return of the Jedi. But, if him escaping like that, did he, kill the Sarlacc? Or, whatever. I mean, it's cool. I was disappointed with that scene. But, Boba Fett, just a quick overview. I've always been a fan of the character. When I got into the Star Wars movies around the late 90s, when the fixed up editions, if you will, the special editions, I guess, were released, I got those for Christmas and watched them. I was like, oh man, this dude's fucking cool as hell. And he had a cool ass voice. And then, when they came to the DVD release, they put in Jango Fett's voice. I'm like, oh, well, I guess he's Australian. Okay. Which is fine. I've got no problem with it. I've talked about this before on another tangent of Star Wars. I just have an issue of erasing other people's contributions to a franchise. Because maybe that guy who was a voice actor for years, who did Boba Fett's voice, was the most well-known thing he ever did was Boba Fett. And now no one's ever going to remember that because it's been fixed over. They even released a under the helmet Boba Fett little 21-minute special on Disney Plus, and I watched that, and they didn't show any scenes of the original voice. They all had I can't say the man's name, but he plays Jango Fett, and he also is Aquaman's dad. And all the scenes they played of it, they had his voice in it, so they've already just taken the original Boba Fett voice out of the archives, which sucks. But overall, it's a solid show. There's a lot of flashbacks, which I guess they're trying to set up to like Boba Fett earning the respect of the Tusken Raiders / Sand people that, take him prisoner. I thought it was a good episode. It goes by quick, so it's not a long 37-minute watch or 38-minute watch. I think it's really good. I hope it does live up to like all the Boba Fett fans. I understand like all fandom now has gotten to a toxic level. If you ask me, it's not just Star Wars. I think Star Wars is like the first fandom that took it to that level, though. And I've already seen quite a few people, and I think there's just a resentment against Boba Fett that you're either going to love the series or you're going to hate the series. Like some people are just like, low key, Boba Fett's he's really boring. It's just like, you probably just hate him because everybody else loves him. And he's a badass character. He's a badass looking character, you know. So I thought it was a good episode. I definitely recommend it. I think the episode could have been stronger and should have been longer, and that's probably what my girlfriend says about my erections. So I'm not sitting there calling out what I'm not calling out for myself. But other than that, I think it was good, and I am very blessed as a fan in the year of 2021 and the year of my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ that I've got a Boba Fett TV series starting. I had a sequel to the Venom movie. I had a Mortal Kombat movie. And before that, 2 years ago, I had a Swamp Thing show come out. So I'm like, you know what? It's pretty good for me being a fan, like, of media. Of course, my Chiefs also won a Super Bowl 2 years ago, so I'm really good as a fan. It's just one of those things, like, you know, I'm not going to complain too much. I never thought I'd get a Boba Fett show, let alone a movie. And this is probably my one chance to actually have that. So I'm not going to complain too much, but I'm probably not going to be a fair reviewer of it either, because I'm going to be like, this show is great. I'm probably going to eventually get to that. But this episode was good. It was a little underwhelming, but it's definitely a recommend for me. What about you, Cody?
So, one of the things I noticed is the pacing is definitely similar to The Mandalorian's pacing, which I don't mind so much, but I know that for a lot of more casual fans of Star Wars, it may be a turnoff. Like, for example, my wife, who's not really a Star Wars fan, loved The Mandalorian, which, of course, the key aspect of that show that drew her in and kept her watching it was Baby Yoda or Grogu or whatever his name was.
Mm-hmm.
So something like this, I think, is going to be a little bit more tailored to the hardcore fans and probably won't have a lot of viewership because of it, or as much viewership anyway. As far as the content of the episode goes, I liked that there were more flashbacks, because it has been a question for so long, like, you know, how did Boba Fett get out of the Sarlacc? Which it does look like he killed the Sarlacc, because when he crawls out of the sand, the Sarlacc's not moving or anything. So
yeah, it's also kind of weird. Just one cut in on the Sarlacc scene, because it's such a short scene. It's like a minute and a half long, but he sees he sees a stormtrooper there.
Yeah.
And okay, that's cool. And there's quite a few Jabba people that got swallowed up, so you think somebody else would be around and you see more body parts. But I think it should really be a sand trooper who is stuck there, the stormtrooper that has the orange shoulder pad on.
Right.
In A New Hope, you know. I think that's what you should see down there, not technically just a regular stormtrooper, because I don't think we saw any regular stormtroopers on Tatooine at the time. Of course, I mean, that's just me being nitpicky. That's just one thing I'm like, why is there a stormtrooper? It should be a fucking sand trooper. That's just me.
Yeah. It could have just been an oversight. But it's hard to say modern day, but, you know, the present day stuff in the episode wasn't nearly as interesting to me. I did like how he's like kind of setting up, you know, he's taken over in the position that Jabba was in before, and he wants to kind of be a different type of crime lord. He doesn't want to be treated like a king necessarily, like Jabba was. But when the one fight scene in the present day, I thought kind of sucked. It takes a while for it to get going, because I guess it's supposed to present this feeling of like, oh, well, how are they going to get out of this situation? And of course, the two guards that he spared come and help, you know, get things moving. But it's just like, and he gets his ass kicked, and it's like,
well, to be fair, he is fighting off, like, him and her are fighting off like 8 people. And
there was 5 people, and then when the 2 show up, it's 4 on 5. But, and I mean, he does have a badass moment where the guy's trying to escape up the wall, and he like blows him up with a rocket. But it's just, that stuff wasn't nearly as good to me as the stuff from the flashbacks. But it may just be because the flashbacks are leading into, like, it's answering a lot of questions that I think a lot of fans have had. Whereas the present day stuff so far is just kind of like, okay, we see where he's at, but there's nothing really going, to like keep the interest there. I would still recommend watching it though. I mean, it's still a good episode overall. So
hold on one sec, Cody. I think I just killed a spider. Oh my god, it scared the fuck out of me.
Should have been like the Limu Emu guy. maybe if I get bitten by a spider, I can help more people save on car insurance.
I love that part so much. He's like, and everything shakes. He goes, "Did it work?"
That's the only like Spider-Man themed commercial they've done for that I've actually liked.
Oh my god! Okay, I see guts on it. I see his dead body. Thank God. The fucking thing was a fucking wolf spider too. Jesus Christ.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, we don't like spiders here on the show. I'm sure there's going to be a big, like, I hope you keep that in. There's like a big clapping on the floor. That's me hitting it with a sandal. Because I have no shoes in here. Another thing about it, somebody made a joke about on one of the reviews. Sorry, I'm wiping my hands off now. Someone made a joke about it on one of the reviews I watched. The Real Rejects, I think, is the name. And you know how they're like, every time he goes to sleep, he has a, in chronological order, vision dream of what's happened in the past.
Yeah.
Which is funny, and I get it. It's part of, movies is what people do. But I think the episode would have been much better if we had the flashback stuff to start the episode. And then he wakes up. Yeah, he wakes up in the back of the tank. And then the modern day stuff happens. I'm not a huge fan of... I'm not a huge fan of him being a crime lord. I want him to be a bounty hunter. But I understand that's probably what they're going to go with, the Mandalorians. They want to be a little bit different. And
it is a little jarring. Like, because it does leave you kind of wondering, why is he here? Like, why would he have taken over for Jabba and not just gone away and done something else? But,
Yeah. And it's small nitpicky stuff. I do like the fact that they're trying to bring in the respect cowboy-esque, spaghetti western part of the character that inspired it. I know there's going to be a lot of modern fans that will be like, "Hey, he's too much like the Mandalorian." It's like, well, technically the Mandalorian is too much like Boba Fett.
I don't see that with this episode though, because when watching the Mandalorian, it's like, oh, the Mandalorian does come off a lot like Boba Fett, but the Boba Fett they're presenting here doesn't really feel like Boba Fett, if that makes sense. Like, to me, he doesn't have that Clint Eastwood feel to him like the Mandalorian did. Yeah, but, granted, it's the first episode.
Yeah, it's too much. It's a little jarring how much he takes his helmet off.
Yeah, and he's a little too frail, to be honest, because he's in that tank, twice in this episode?
Yeah, and the thing is, I understand, like, you can only do so much when he's in The Mandalorian, but when The Mandalorian show, he didn't have any issues physically. He's like, okay, it's Boba Fett, he's kicking ass, and that's what we're trying to set up. It feels like in this, and what this takes place after his appearance in The Mandalorian, I'm about to burp, excuse me. Damn, that was a good one too. It feels like they're trying to tie in his past injuries from the Sarlacc, or maybe the Tusken Raiders, and or both, to the present day. Is why he's having to go to the back to tank or whatever. And it's like, I get it. It's just a story plot thing. And you can't blame Robert Rodriguez, who directed this episode, because it was Jon Favreau who wrote the episode. And he was the creator and writer for a lot of the episodes on The Mandalorian with Dave Filoni. So he is a Boba Fett fan. He understands it. So I will give them the benefit of the doubt. And I'll try not to nitpick too much. But there was a few things I'm like, okay, I mean, I kind of rather he just be like a respectful bounty hunter. Because what people don't understand, I'll go for this tangent and then we'll get on to our next segment. Boba Fett captured the audience's imagination. He was just a badass looking character, but you had to read up his backstory from the expanded universe to understand why people liked him. Because I remember Alex, when he watched Star Wars for the first time, and I've already talked about him liking the Darth Vader scene that was ruined. He said, I'm not sure, I think, not into like the context of it, he was like, I'm not sure why you like Boba Fett so much. He didn't say that in a dick way, he just didn't get it. And I said, well, there's just so much that happens in the expanded universe that's so awesome. And there's a book called Tales of the Bounty Hunters. And there's a short story in there that talks about the Boba Fett origin. And this is before Boba Fett was a clone. He was a journeyman protector named Jaster Myrrell. And it was a really just a cool little badass story. And it was told with some flashbacks and flash forwards to the present day. And it led up to him getting swallowed by the Sarlacc. He escapes, and then he goes on and has one more final confrontation with Han Solo. And it's a really good fucking story. I mean, next time I come up there, I'll just let you borrow the book because I still have it. It's only probably like 100 pages of a short story. I don't even think it's that long. But it's an incredible story, and that story made me fall in love with Boba Fett. And while I rewatched the old movies, I was able to place that characterization from the book into the movies, and it just made me love Boba Fett even more. So there was a lot of fantasy, I guess, that went into Boba Fett. And that's why he was so popular with people. And I think there's a lot of either just, I don't know, casual Star Wars fans or just the people that want to like be professional reviewers and complain about everything that don't like Boba Fett. And they don't like him. And it's very obvious that they don't like him because he's so popular with everybody. They just think it's stupid that people like him. And it's like, just shut the fuck up. When it comes to that, you don't have to comment on everything. And it's like, oh, I don't understand why you guys like this character. I'm like, well, fuck, I don't understand why you like fucking, I don't know, I was just going to try to come up with something stupid. Like, I don't care about these, like, highly touted shows like Dexter, like my girlfriend likes. But I'm not going to sit there and say, well, that show's just fucking stupid. I'm not going to watch it. I don't know if it's stupid or not. I just have no interest in it.
Right.
But, if you don't have interest in as well as I do since we started doing this podcast, if you don't have an interest in this movie that we're reviewing, it's hard to sit there and talk about it for a long period of time or even give it like a serious thought. That's usually the episodes, other than Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. We usually lay back on those episodes if there's not much for you to talk about. Or maybe there's something that you don't like. But it's obviously something like that. But these people that do these professional reviews come across as like, oh, I got to make sure I put out 1,000 words, and it's got to make it look like I'm actually analyzing everything when they went into it with the preconceived notion, like, oh, this character is really popular, so I'm going to shit on it,
Right.
So that's just the only problem I have with a lot of the reviewers. It has an 85% last time I checked on Rotten Tomatoes, and the audience score is like a 75. So,
which of
audiences
course that'll fluctuate, I'm sure.
Yeah, but it can just tell you right there the audiences are kind of a little underwhelmed. But 75% is not bad.
Yeah.
So, but that's enough on Boba Fett. I definitely recommend it. What about you, Cody?
Oh yeah, I recommend watching it. I think what do they say? It's like 6 episodes that they're going to do.
No, 7. We got 6 more
7.
left.
Okay. So yeah, I mean it's not like it's a huge time investment either. So
Yeah, I do hope there's longer episodes. I mean, look, I think the longest Mandalorian episode was like 57 minutes at one point, and then the shortest one was like 29 minutes. And I'm like, 38 minutes is okay, but get me closer to an hour, because there's a lot of story you can tell. Like that I know they're going to lead up to more flashbacks, but it seems like the part where they're going to be resting their head on the flashback part is going to be the Tusken Raider part. Whereas I think we're done talking about the Sarlacc, and that's the biggest thing fans have wanted to know. Like, give us that validation that he escaped. And we finally did, but it was just a short little scene.
Yeah. So, but all right. So let's do our other segment we wanted to do before talking about Men in Black. I would like to discuss what movies we are looking forward to that are coming out in 2022. I guess I will kick this segment off. After having a couple years where it seems like new movies have been light, especially in the light of COVID-19 and theaters being shut down for a year and a half, and even when theaters reopened, a lot of movies still weren't really releasing. People were still pushing them back a lot. It definitely seems like 2022 is going to be jam-packed with movie releases. A few just off the top of my head. Halloween Ends will release next year.
Ooh, thank God. It'll be done.
And yeah, and I'm interested to see how they're going to wrap this up, and hopefully it's better than Halloween Kills was.
It's probably going to be like a Rise of Skywalker situation where they're just going to have to like throw a bunch of fan shit in there to make everybody happy, and then the movie's going to be like terribly reviewed. But this last one was terribly reviewed too, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. But beyond Halloween Ends, just in the horror genre, there's the new Scream movie coming out in January. Orphan First Kill, which I'm interested to see what they do with, because the actress that played Esther in Orphan is coming back to play her in this movie, but it's also a prequel to the first movie. So it'll be interesting to see how they use her, who she is now an adult, and make it fit to where she looks like a child again. Have you ever seen Orphan?
I have not.
Okay, so the general gist of the movie is that this family adopts this girl, and they believe her to be like 10 or 11 years old or something like that. And it turns out that she's a bit crazy, and she wants to kill the wife, and I think she wants to kill the two kids because she wants to be with the father. And it come to find out that she has a genetic disorder that basically makes her, or a hormonal disorder that makes her look like a child, but she's actually like in her 30s. Yeah. So that's like the big twist of the movie. It's like, oh crap, like, and so that's why it's going to be interesting, because that movie came out, at least 10 years ago, so it'll be interesting how that same actress is able to play that character in a movie that takes place before the first movie. Let's see, there's the Texas Chainsaw sequel, which I think is just called Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Evil Dead Rise is going to be coming out. There's a movie called The Black Phone.
That actually looks pretty decent.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. I've seen a lot of people criticizing, like, yeah, it looks like the same old crap. It's like, whatever.
These are people that just won't be happy with anything.
Oh yeah, for sure. On the comic book front,
I want to say on the horror front.
Yeah,
did you see a trailer to the it's that Nun movie which deals with possession? Something, The Devil's Light.
I have not seen that.
Have you not seen that trailer? Because it was in the Halloween trailer, I thought. But you didn't go to the theaters to see that, so that's probably just me. Yeah, it's The Devil's Light, I think. Let me just make sure. I don't want to sit there and... Go ahead and talk about the comic book. I'll get in my section, sorry.
Okay, all right. In the comic book front, because, everybody loves comic book movies. I
love comic book cinema.
Yeah, it's comic book cinema. There's Morbius, which I've been excited for a while, and it sucks that they keep pushing that movie back. There's Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Thor: Love and Thunder,
Thunder, lightning, and the thunder,
Thunder. The Batman. And the Flash. I knew there's another DC one I was excited about. The Flash and Black Adam are both DC films I'm looking forward to. Especially the Flash, since it's going to have the whole like multiple universe sort of thing. And they actually announced recently that Michael Keaton is going to play Batman in the Batgirl film, which is going to be an HBO Max only movie. And supposedly releasing next year, but we'll see if that actually happens. And outside of those, the only movie I can really think of off the top of my head that I'm excited for is Lightyear, which is a Pixar movie, and it's basically Buzz Lightyear as an actual character and not like the toy, if that makes sense.
Yes, I saw a trailer of that.
Yeah, so it looks pretty good. So,
well, those are interesting choices, Cody, and my list will probably be similar to yours. That movie I was talking about is The Devil's Light, and Cody, if you want to give a chance, like when you get a chance off this podcast, just watch the trailer, see what you think. I think the chick looks kind of hot with bleach blonde hair and always wearing white and all that. There's probably not a good reason to like the movie, but like, she's really hot in this movie. I don't know why. I am excited about Morbius because I am partial to the Sony universe of Spider-Man characters. I am looking forward to the Flash movie to see how they tie up the loose ends of the Zack Snyder universe. And then what they do going forward, because they're probably going to write off Henry Cavill, I said it right this time, and Ben Affleck as Superman and Batman, respectively. This is probably going to be their last appearances. So that's just the only thing. But yeah, the Flash movie is, well, the way they're going to tie that up is going to be exciting. I will say this, just a quick thing. The next movie, hopefully Cody will have watched this movie so we can discuss it, because I almost watched it. Spider-Man No Way Home is a fucking definite watch. It's fucking, I cried a few times. I will go ahead and admit it. I'm emotional anyway. I think it's something wrong with hormones. But it's, oh boy. I haven't felt this complete watching a movie since watching Avengers Endgame. And I understand that was only like 3 years ago when that movie came out, or 2 years ago. I think it was 3 years ago. But Avengers Endgame, the completion that you get, all the storylines are tied up. They can go forward with something new. All the characters have resolution. It's like, oh, thank God, this complete saga of the soap opera is done. We can start with a new saga. And that's what I felt with the Spider-Man movie. Like, they somehow tied up Spider-Man separately from the MCU, all of his stories, and he can go forward with something new. Or maybe not. But it's one, and Cody's already read the spoilers to it, because Cody is basic like that.
Nah, some idiot on Twitter spoiled it like the day it released. Like, seriously?
That's why you gotta stay off Twitter.
Yeah.
All that stuff. I spoiled the post credit scene, which was not a big surprise to me, and it's not like, oh, that. And something got spoiled when I got on the Wikipedia page, because I was trying to avoid it. I just kept wanting to look at the audience score. But it's, no matter what I read, it did not translate to what happened in the movie. So when I watched the movie, I literally was like, what's about to happen next? And it was just a wonderful movie. And it's a beautiful movie. And you know what? I made that joke about comic book cinema is because I think Owen shares a opinion of, comic book movies really aren't cinema either.
So you're saying Owen is like the spawn of Martin Scorsese? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No, and that's his opinion, which is cool. Owen, is probably deeper into his film appreciation than I will ever be. But I do consider comic book movie cinema, and I consider like the storytelling they put in these movies, the hard work they put into them, just because of CGI, is wonderful, And it's just really good. But anyway, going back to what I was looking forward to, I am looking forward to Morbius. I'm looking forward to the Flash movie, and I didn't realize that Black Adam was coming out next year, which is awesome. The Devil's Light, Halloween Ends. I'm kind of out on the Batman already. I don't know why. You know, I there's something about it, this last trailer. Because this thing has been like, okay, we got to promote this as something different than the regular comic book movie. It's a detective movie. But this last movie is teasing this huge relationship between him and Catwoman. And it's all these bomb, bomb, bomb explosions. I'm like, so what exactly is different between this and the Dark Knight trilogy? That's just my opinion. You know, it's like, okay, and it was funny, and this is going to be kind of a bad joke. And I can say this, I was a Kurt Cobain fan growing up. But Robert Pattinson was like, I took a lot of inspiration from Kurt Cobain for my Bruce Wayne character. I'm like, oh, thank God we finally get to see what Bruce Wayne looks like hocked up on heroin. But it's like, okay, no, I understand what he's taking from. I didn't read the article, you know, the whole reclusive part of Kurt Cobain hating the spotlight, but being rich and famous and all that, and probably feeling like somewhat of a sellout or something like that. It's fun. I'll see how this movie goes. I don't like how they already revealed in the trailer where the Riddler knows the Batman is Bruce Wayne. Or if that is the Riddler's voice, hell, that may not be the Riddler's voice. Because they're talking, someone's teased that it could be the Night, is it the Night Court of Owls?
Yeah, the Court of Owls.
Court of Owls, excuse me, yeah. I guess Night Court of Owls would be a little too on the nose. So the Court of Owls is probably involved in this movie, which is, you know, a crime syndicate that Batman has to deal with, which is cool. Like I said, I'm kind of in the middle already. I'm really just not gonna like the movie, and maybe they released this final trailer a little too early since we still have to wait till March, so we have at least like 2.5 months till the movie comes out. So it's like, I don't understand, like, tomorrow is January 1st. It's probably like 2 months, really. But it's like, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I'm hoping it's good. I'm not sitting there like, God, I hope this movie fucking sucks. But I just don't know how much I'm going to like it because it's already got like a 2.5 hour runtime. And it's like, Jesus Christ, man, that's a long time to sit in a movie fucking theater. You know, thank God it's not connected to anything in the DCEU, so we don't have to worry, hopefully, about post-credit scene. Because that was the one complaint I have. If you have an hour and a half comic book movie, go crazy, put 2 post-credit scenes in there. If you have a 2.5 hour movie like Spider-Man, and someone has bought a large icy, and he's already peed twice. This may be a hypothetical. This may have happened. But if he's sitting there squirming in the theater for that last post-credit scene because it's at the very end of your 15-minute post-credit sequence, or your credit sequence, and he has to pee, and turns out that last post-credit scene is literally just a trailer for the next fucking movie, I should have just pissed on the floor. Or he should have just pissed on the floor, excuse me.
Oh, so it was a trailer for, was it a trailer for the next Into the Spider-Verse movie?
No, it was a trailer for Doctor Strange.
Oh,
which is fine.
So it's the thing.
I don't have a problem with that.
It's the trailer they put online like the next day.
Yes, and I didn't know that. I didn't look it up because I looked up on Google because I didn't want to spoil anything because I already spoiled the other post-credit scene. I looked up on Google and it said you have 2 post-credit scenes. Okay, and I looked at Savannah. I'm like, well, there's 2 scenes. So there's one after the illustrative credits, and then there's one after the white scroll credits. And you know, we're sitting there, I'm like, God, I gotta pee. And this is me, like, I get kind of nervous, and I have to pee. So, like, we got there, and I peed, and we sat down. And, of course, they have 25 minutes of trailers before the fucking movie. So, you're in there over 3 hours at this point when the movie's done. So, like, 25 minutes of trailers just kept going. I'm like, oh, my God. And before they got that stupid thing where they put you on a little roller coaster when you're riding around with the snacks and the popcorn, and it shows you either some Pepsi or Coca-Cola commercial. I had to go pee again. So let me go pee just to make sure, so I'm good. I sat down, and God bless it, she had to buy a fucking large icy So I'm drinking off that. I drank more than she did because when I get excited, I drink a lot too. And I'm over here like, oh, this is great. And then getting to the movie, I'm like, okay, there's the first post-credit scene. Okay, I gotta pee. It's fine. I can make it. And I'm just like, God, I really think my dick fell asleep. Oh, I gotta pee. And all this is going on. All of a sudden, it starts playing, and I'm like, this is the trailer to the Doctor Strange. And I watched it. It wasn't like I left. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I saw this online. And then as soon as it got done, I jumped up and ran off. I left her. Like, I'll see you outside, baby. And, I ran to the bathroom. Like, oh, thank God. It was just miserable. But yeah, when you have a 2.5 hour movie, don't put 2 post-credit scenes. Just put 1 so everybody can leave. I understand everybody's like, oh, man, what's this? Like, no, I don't need that. Put it all in the mid-credits and then let everybody have the credits. Like, we don't need something at the very end. Just... I don't need to see that little duck thing in the Avengers movie show up. It's like, yeah, this is kind of weird, isn't it? Or whatever the fuck he was. You know which one I'm talking about, right? They had the animated duck from Disney.
Howard. Oh, are you talking about Donald Duck? Are you talking about Howard the Duck from Marvel Comics?
Yeah, Howard the Duck from Marvel Comics is what I'm thinking of, yeah.
Okay.
But that part, I'm like, I don't need to see that, him just saying something silly, and that'd be the last scene. I'm like, I waited for that, but anyway.
I waited for that?
So that's it. Yeah, just I think me and Cody, we overlapped with Morbius and the Flash, Black Adam, maybe the Batman. We'll see. I definitely think we'll have to make that a movie we review when it comes out.
Yeah,
because that I would love to do Spider-Man at some point, but I'm like, I'll just wait for the home release on that. And so since we're so far behind, by the time we get to Batman, we'll have recorded probably 6 episodes.
Yeah,
since
probably.
Then. So, all right, Cody. Well, I guess we'll take it off with your movie, sir. Sorry for taking so long on that.
Oh, no big deal. So today we are once again joined by our loved ones to
celebrate this movie, Men in Black.
Celebrate Men in Black. All rise. Oh. So I have a script in front of me now, just a little behind the scenes for everybody.
Did Sam Raimi write that script for you?
Oh, I hope not.
You know what's funny, Alex? Real quick, because you've watched the Evil Dead movies too.
Mm-hmm.
Alex he likes the second one. Hold on, he did this because I'd be interested because I know you watched them all now, right?
Yeah, I've seen them all.
Let me ask you about this. Shout out to Alex and his podcast with Jacob and his wife Kristen. I'll take 3. Let's see, Evil Dead. No, that's not what I want. Search bar. Motherfucker.
Evil Dead. Won't you give me some evil head? I will say, because while you're looking...
No, they did on their podcast. Excuse me. They didn't, I thought it was in a text message, but
okay.
Alex likes... I think he likes the second one the most. And then maybe the third one?
Yeah, so I guess let me briefly talk about that, because I actually just finished rewatching all of it, including the television show. I literally watched the last episode of the TV series yesterday. So it had been a long time since I'd seen Evil Dead 2 or Army of Darkness. Of course, we did the review for the first Evil Dead a few months ago. I would rank them Evil Dead from 2013. I would still put that on top. I know everyone loves Ash. I love Ash. But I love that Evil Dead 2013 feels like a pure horror movie that actually has some genuinely scary moments in it. Then I would put Army of Darkness below that, and I thought I wouldn't do that because in my memory I thought Evil Dead 2 is the best one of the original 3. But Army of Darkness, even though it is kind of silly and it's more of like a dark fantasy comedy with like some horror elements in it, it's actually genuinely really good. There's only like one scene that I thought was kind of dumb, and it's a scene when there's a bunch of like there's a bunch of like little mini ashes running around attacking him.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only scene I didn't really enjoy out of that film, but the rest of it I really liked. And but yeah, I would put Evil Dead 2013, Army of Darkness, Evil Dead 2, and then the original Evil Dead. Sorry, the Evil Dead at the bottom. Evil Dead 2 I wouldn't put above Army of Darkness because it's like that. It's the movie that's trying to really like discover what Evil Dead wants to be. It tries to keep one foot in the horror from the first movie while also putting a foot in the comedy that would come with Army of Darkness and the Ash vs. Evil Dead television series. And I'll say the TV series is fantastic. I love it. In the last season, there were a few episodes that there were some things I was kind of rolling my eyes at, but even in the world of Evil Dead, it's like, all right, that's kind of dumb. But like there's a character that's killed off, and like the character being accused of killing this one character isn't nowhere around, but someone walks up, is like, did so and so do that? It's like, no. Do you think they just walked in the room and killed this one person, and it's not the person standing right next to the body? You know, just a couple things like that. But the television series is fantastic. But, I don't want to linger on it. I don't want to linger on it too long. But go ahead.
Yeah, I can't find his list. I found something disturbing on his letterbox. I'll go ahead and give Alice's letterbox a shout out. On the Psycho movies, he has it ranked 1, 2, the remake, and then 4, and then 3. I'm like, holy shit, the remake with Vince Vaughn is terrible. That should be your last movie. But that's neither here nor there. But I'm pretty sure his ranking, he likes the second one the most. And I think, because they talked about on their last episode they did. And, you know, their episodes run a little longer than us sometimes, probably around the same as the average. But it's a really good show that they do. I'll take 3. But they talked about it. I'm pretty sure he said he liked the second one first, and then the first one, and then maybe the third one. Because the third one's just all out wacky.
Right.
And, you know, like I said, I wasn't impressed with the first one, and I'm not interested in seeing the rest of the movies. I know Cody will pick the other movies, which is fine. I mean, at least we'll know that I'm going in from a negative standpoint. So if I actually come out with a positive standpoint, you know, it's actually, I think it's a good movie.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever. Never say never, of course, but I don't know if I'm going to do another Evil Dead movie. It's either going to be the 2013 film, or it's going. I know I definitely want to do the new one that's releasing next year on HBO Max. So
is it going to be an HBO Max, like just?
Yeah, it's like an HBO Max only thing.
I wonder if that merger with Discovery and Warner Brothers is taking place completely, because they have to be hemorrhaging money at this point.
Well, I think it has taken place already.
I know they announced it, but usually it takes them a while to like complete a merger.
Yeah,
like the WCW, like listen to documentaries, they started the Time Warner AOL merger in like 98, and it was complete by 2001.
Right.
And then once 2001 was happened, that's when they sold WCW to WWF. Here's their weekly or episodely wrestling mention, everybody. This is what happens when you have 2/3 of a podcast who are like huge wrestling fans. Cody from the 90s and me from the late 80s to now to 90s too. So, yeah. But anyway, let's go back to the Men in Black.
All right.
Because...
So, Men in Black was released theatrically on July 2nd, 1997. The film stars Tommy Lee Jones as Agent K, Will Smith as Agent J, Linda Fiorentino as Dr. Laurel Weaver, Rip Torn as Chief Zed, and Vincent D'Onofrio as the Bug, or Ed.
I was going to be like, and Cody as Agent C.
As Agent C. Men in Black was directed by Barry Sonnenfeld, who's also known for The Addams Family and The Addams Family Values, as well as The Wild Wild West. And the movie was composed by Danny Elfman. It is based on the comic book of the same name, which is, I believe, is actually a Marvel comic. Now, I don't know if it originally started off that way, but Men in Black had a budget of $90 million and grossed $589.4 million. Despite this, writer Ed Solomon has said that Sony claims the film was not profitable. I don't know how, considering that is
how much was the money again? I missed that.
The budget was $90 million and it grossed $589.4 million. But somehow it wasn't profitable.
That sounds like them gaslighting him. But I do know that usually someone on another shout out to someone on YouTube. His name is Seek. He did a lot of the shows. His like the Venom blog, and when he says because he actually worked like with like at Sony as like just a production hand, but he picked up a lot of like knowledge from people that while working on sets. And he said that usually you take a budget and then you times it by 2 for the promotional budget. So the things you see on commercials like Men in Black, like Happy Meal toys or whatever it may be, that's part of the promotion thing. So you take it. So maybe it's $180 million total is the budget. It still should have been profitable at that point.
Yeah, I mean, that's still such a large gap to somehow have been squandered away.
And, Sony could have taken the profits on that movie. Because, it's not out of the ordinary for a company to take profits from one division and put it on something else to make it look like the other thing wasn't successful. So maybe there was a movie they released that year that wasn't successful, but they took the profit margin from Men in Black and put it on that movie to make it look more successful. We'll never know, but that's just how accounting. It's called creative accounting.
Yeah.
So
Men in Black currently holds a Rotten Tomatoes score of 92%, and it has a Cinema score of B+. Multiple products have come along as part of the Men in Black franchise, including 2 sequels, Men in Black 2 and Men in Black 3, and a spin-off film, Men in Black International. There was also an animated series that ran from October of 1997 to June 2001. Multiple video games have been made, and there's even a theme park ride in Universal Studios Florida called Men in Black Alien Attack. So, Lance, what is your experience with this movie?
I feel like, what is your first experience with this movie? Well, Cody, I was a Men in Black virgin for this movie. And I came out of it seeing the light and loving gangbangs. No, I'm just kidding. This was, spoiler alert, we talked about this before and made a joke about it. This is our second time recording this episode. So the first time I watched this movie was before the first recording of this, which was, like a month ago? It was before Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I mean, it was
a while ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
And, that was the first time I watched the movie, and I remember laughing a lot and enjoying the movie. I'm like, okay, this is a fun little movie. Like, I had never watched the movie all the way through. If I had, it's been a long time. This time around, I watched it, and I did a quick, skip through of the movie. Like, I would just make sure I'd seen a scene and then fast forward to the next scene just to make sure I had, the blueprint of the movie back in my mind fresh. I didn't have the interest in rewatching it all the way through just because, it's kind of hard to do, especially when you do it on the podcast. That's the thing that you don't realize going into doing a podcast is, I love these movies. It's going to be great. Well, when it comes down to, time to actually watch the movie to study it, and you're like, God, this is kind of taking the fun out of the movie for me. It's like, this is a lot of work, and it just it does suck some of the fun that could possibly come from a movie that you like a lot. When I watched The Fugitive, I remember watching it 2 times getting ready for the episode. I'll have to watch it a 3rd time. And it's fine when I'm just in the mood to watch The Fugitive, but when you kind of force yourself to watch it, there's a little bit of resentment towards the movie at the time. You're like, why do you have to be so just you right now?
Definitely, yeah.
But yeah, this was the second go around I watched this movie. I didn't watch it all the way through again, like I just said, but my first experience with this movie was when we first watched it. So it was a nice surprise when I watched it the first time.
So for me, I had the VHS when I was a kid, and this and Men in Black 2 both I would watch repeatedly. I mean, I loved these movies when I was a kid. I've never seen the 3rd one or International. I kind of got screwed with the Blu-ray collection I ordered of Men in Black 1, 2, and 3, where it's a European box set, and Men in Black 1 and 2, they both work fine, but Men in Black 3 says that I need a European Blu-ray player to play it, which is odd because it's like they decided to region lock that disc, I guess, which sucks. But yeah, I mean, I loved both the first two movies when I was a kid. So I've even been on that theme park ride, by the way, in Universal. It's pretty much you sit down in this moving ride, and like there's a little like laser pointer style gun attached to the rod, and you're supposed to shoot targets and stuff as you move through on the track. So it's not the most exciting ride there, but you know it's serviceable. So what was your, well, you already said that you laughed a lot watching this movie.
There's quite a few times. This is small stuff. I mean, I'm still, immature. So, like, all the stuff that kids would laugh at the time. Kids today wouldn't laugh a lot. But what kids laughed a lot, then I was laughing at. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's pretty funny. Look at him wheeling the spaceship to the van. Just me being stupid.
Oh, I mean, there are some genuinely, like, laugh out loud moments. The moment that got me the most in this movie was when Agent J goes to like interview for the position with the Men in Black, and they don't give him a table or anything to write on. He's like trying to write on his leg, and he breaks the pencil, and he's trying to hold it together while he writes, and he like gets up and drags that table very loudly to his chair. That scene right there just had me dying of laughter. I mean, it's so funny. But speaking of Agent J, I guess I don't want to run through the plot. We did that before, and I don't really feel like doing it again.
Yeah. Well, it's just like, okay, they're chasing down aliens.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically
two old
just
guys and
the general gist of it is there's an agency called the Men in Black. They are a secret government organization that basically tracks and polices aliens from other planets that are on Earth. And when they have their own system for like arresting them and monitoring them and all that kind of stuff. And there's a unique tool that they have called the neuralizer or the deneuralizer. I can't remember exactly what it's called. Where they can, I
think you're right, the deneuralizer.
Yeah, so they use that to flash people to wipe their memories if they've seen an alien or some sort of extraterrestrial event. And yeah, so that's the basic gist of the plot. And then there is an alien.
It's a buddy cop movie with aliens.
Yeah, pretty much. The main threat of the movie is just referred to as the Bug, and he comes from outer space, and he's looking for he's looking for a galaxy that is later on Orion's belt, which Orion is a cat, and the belt is its collar, which is pretty clever. He comes to the planet to look for this galaxy that's on this orb on Orion's belt, and there's something about like some kind of intergalactic war or something that's going on that he wants the universe so that his people can aid them in winning this war. So that's the main antagonist of the movie. But there are other little events that go on here and there throughout the film. Sorry if you hear my dogs barking. It's starting to thunder outside, so they're barking at that.
Yeah, it's trickling out here, rain-wise.
The film stars, like I said, it stars Will Smith. He's Agent J. He starts off as a NYPD detective, I think, and he encounters an alien that he's chasing down as a suspect, and that leads to the Men in Black finding him and inviting him to unknowingly interview for this process to become a Men in Black agent. The agent that finds him is Agent K, played by Tommy Lee Jones. Tommy Lee Jones puts on a great performance in this film. They are the buddies in the buddy cop situation throughout the movie. Something I do want to bring up, there's a plot hole in Men in Black 2, because this movie all takes place over the course of a few days, right? Like, I think from the time that Agent J is made an agent, it's literally 3 days till the end of the movie where Agent K retires. But in Men in Black 2, when Agent J and K reunite, J makes a bunch of references about him and K doing stuff on Saturday nights and all this, but it's like they only work together for 3 days. So it's like a bizarre oversight, I guess. I don't really know what the deal is. Interesting fact for you, which I found out doing research on this. They originally wanted Clint Eastwood to play Agent K, and he turned it down, which I think would have been a completely different movie if Clint Eastwood was playing alongside Will Smith, because I don't think that
would have been a very interesting play. Like, it would have worked. Clint Eastwood was an incredible actor, but it would have been completely different than what Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, because Tommy Lee Jones has a way of playing. He has a way of playing it straight, where he's not really trying to be comedic, but he's still able to create comedic moments. And I just can't see Clint Eastwood being able to pull that off.
Well, see, Eastwood's shtick is oh, sorry, I'm wrapping a condom right now. Sometimes I like to jerk off in the middle of podcasting. I'm getting a hand wipe. I'm getting a hand wipe because of my OCD of cleanliness. Clint Eastwood's shtick is like everything else around him can be funny or be comedic relief, and he kind of just reacts to that. He's not going to say anything that's going to be funny. If he says anything, it's going to be extremely like dry humor, on the nose humor for like the older people to go, "Aha, I understood that." And I'm one of the older people, so it's not like I'm being critical of old people. But there is a B military movie called Heartbreak Ridge, which I'm going to select this year at some point. And it's not a military movie like, God, this is so boring. It's got a lot of comedy in it, but it's Eastwood is on kind of like the outside of the comedy, reacting to it or setting up the other people to say something comedic, and he's just being Eastwood. So he can play it off, but it would have to have been everything else would have to play off the comedy versus Eastwood doing it. And now I'm saying this, I would love to have seen a movie with Clint Eastwood and Tommy Lee Jones in it, just because, I mean, they're two awesome actors. And Will Smith, too, but I'm trying to look at it from an aspect of Eastwood, because, Eastwood, like you said, he's one of the greatest actors of all time. I understand, like, you may not be super fond of him, but generally speaking,
don't get me wrong, he's a great actor. I mean, I don't like the whole, like, I'm not a huge fan of Westerns. There are a few that I've seen that I really like.
Have you ever seen Unforgiven?
Yes, Unforgiven is the one I was going to bring up. That's the one where he's a former bandit or whatever, right? And they go and recruit him.
Turned his life around,
yeah.
He has to revert back. Have you ever seen... Now, I know I let you borrow this because you were interested in it. I don't think you ever watched it. The Outlaw Josie Wales.
No, I never did watch it. I've seen Unforgiven. I've seen The Good, the Bad, the Ugly.
Which is a completely different style of Western.
Right.
Than those movies,
And now, I guess I don't really like a lot of those really classic Westerns that they... Campy's not the right word, but that's the word I want to use. Where
they're spaghetti Western.
Yeah, it's just like kind of like...
It's a European style Western movie.
Right. Where I like, if it's a Western movie, I want something that's a little bit more serious in tone, like something like True Grit or like Unforgiven. I guess you can even consider There Will Be Blood to be a Western style movie as well. It's just, but I know like a lot of Clint Eastwood's early works were like that spaghetti Western style, and I've never really been a big fan of that.
That's what got him on the map as an actor, because before that he was on like a Western TV show for like 7 years called Rawhide.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was kind of like floundering as an actor, and those movies put him into the stratosphere. And even that director, I don't think, had a hugely successful career until those movies. And my dad's a big fan because it's like a fistful of dollars, a few dollars more, and the good and the bad and the ugly, which is kind of like a loosely connected trilogy. But there's also a movie after that Eastwood's not a part of, and it's got Charles Bronson in it, who was probably more famous to people listening from the movies, the Death Wish movies, the original ones, and Henry Fonda, who was like one of the biggest actors of all time in like the 50s and 60s and 70s, who was always a good guy. And in this movie, he plays a fucking terrible bad guy, just like a shitheel. He fucking kills children, he rapes women, and stuff like that, which is hugely against the typecast. And it's the same director that made those Good and the Bad and the Ugly movies that made that movie. And I may suggest that one day because it's fucking awesome. Like, it's like it's in the 90% of Rotten Tomatoes. And you don't have to really deal with the Eastwood, his little shtick. But, yeah, those movies, it was like, I'm pretty sure it's a European style of Western. Because if you watch the John Wayne Western movies, that they're way different than the Clint Eastwood ones. Like, it was kind of like just a new, because you've seen like cowboys and Native American movies up until that point. John Wayne, I can't remember any of those actors around that time. Rock Hudson, not Rock Hudson, but who fucking knows? Anyway, Eastwood, because he's probably the same age as Eastwood, but that was kind of like a new twist. It's like, oh, okay, well, this is something different, and it just kind of blew up. And people just absolutely loved it. And, you didn't have home release movies at the time. You'd have movies being broadcast on television. Yeah. So that's what made, Eastwood such a bigger star, because by the time it was released to the general public, it had been a couple of years. Like, oh, this is awesome. So by the time that happens, he's having movies being released in the States, like, Dirty Harry and stuff like that.
Right.
So he's, becoming that fucking megastar, the next John Wayne at that point.
Yeah.
So... but it would be interesting to see Eastwood, needless to say, in this movie. The script would have been written differently.
Yeah.
If you had this script, like you said, I do agree. I don't think it would have worked.
Which the script was the next thing I was going to bring up, because I guess after Eastwood turned it down, they went to Tommy Lee Jones and asked him to do it, and he read the script. And at first, he was going to turn it down because he claimed, and I got this from IMDb, so it may not be 100% accurate, but he claimed that he didn't want to do it because the script was not accurate, it wasn't not close enough to the comics, and so they went in and rewrote it to kind of be closer to what the comic books were. And
well, if that's the case, then good on him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
I think that's really cool. Like, if you have, especially this is the first project that ever came out that was, a bigger media than just a comic for this, like, I guess, little mini franchise.
Yeah.
But if he actually said that, like, go back, I want it to be closer, because if you read the original comic, that's pretty badass, because that shines more of a light on the original writers of the comic. Because so much of Hollywood is, well, let's take what you did and we're going to completely change it, but slap your name on it.
Yeah.
Like, slap the project's name on it, but you're not going to get any credit for it. And then people are like, well, this kind of sucks. But then people are like, well, the original source material, the few people that go back and read it, or have already read it, are like, it's so much better. Man, the Harry Potter books are better, bro. And, all that kind of shit. So if he said that, that's fucking cool on him, though. Yeah. I'll give him props on that.
So,
do you think? Let me ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
Do you think that them changing so much of, like, comic books going into the movies at the time was just an arrogance on Hollywood's part, thinking they could do it better, or hoping not to give the comic book writers a partial writing credit so they didn't get paid for it?
I don't think it's that so much, because if you go back and watch those old comic book movies, they probably are still giving credit to the comic book writer, because they're the ones that created the property anyway.
Well, yeah, I don't know how much you get paid for, like, every time you see a Batman movie, based on characters created by Bob Kane.
Yeah.
Like, he may get some kind of royalty for it, but you have to think that you get paid a little bit more if you get a writing credit.
Oh yeah, if you're like an
And-
actual writer, or yeah, you're right, credited as a writer for the film, you probably get more compensation for it.
But do you think as a writer they could possibly argue in a court of law, like, well, this movie's taken so much from this stretch of my comics, I should get a writing credit and get compensated for it?
I don't think they can.
Hollywood probably.
I don't think they can, because comic books, of course, have publishers. I mean, there are very few that are independently published and successful enough to have movies made out of them. But it's really just licensing from whoever the comic book publisher is to the film company that's wanting to make the movie. As far as like the reason for changing the source material so much, I think it is a little bit of Hollywood arrogance, just thinking that they can do it better. But I also think it's Hollywood believing that, for so long anyway, that no one's going to come to the movies to see a movie based or written the same way as this comic book is. So they change it to try and make it more appealing to the general public. But when you look at those old comic book movies, 9 times out of 10 they were terrible. It took a long time for comic book movies to get to the point where, for one, where Hollywood was like, maybe we should pull from other material on this, because people seem to like it, and for Hollywood to even make good quality movies that hold up.
Yeah, it took all the way up to the 70s with the Richard Donner Superman movies.
Yeah,
for that to gain traction, and then you had Batman later on, which gained more traction, and then it had a little bit of a lull.
Yeah,
and we had those crappy Batman movies, but then like 2000s X-Men, and then 2002 Spider-Man kind of ignited the
modern
crop of movies.
Yeah, those movies particularly, you're right. They really skyrocketed what is like the modern like comic book craze as far as films go. And
but yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about like how many stop and goes that we had during that time period.
Mm-hmm.
Like 2000 was the first X-Men movie, and by 2005 you had X-Men 3, which was like fucking terrible.
Yeah.
And then you had 2002 Spider-Man, 2004, which was Spider-Man 2, which was awesome. And then you got to 2007, which was a terrible fucking movie, obviously. Well, not terrible. The Venom parts were terrible.
Yeah, the Venom parts.
But see how that movie, that franchise fell apart by the end of Spider-Man 3. And literally the next year, The Dark Knight releases, and that completely changes the game.
Yeah.
Like, everything is changed.
But it's odd, because The Dark Knight, as much as it did for comic book films, I still feel like X-Men and Spider-Man had more of an influence on the modern comic book landscape, because The Dark Knight,
I do too.
The Dark Knight was it was dark in tone and
different.
Yeah, and it was a lot more grounded. They really wanted you to believe that the villains and Bruce Wayne and everything was possible in our world, whereas
Superman wouldn't be possible.
Right, Superman wouldn't be possible, and I see what you're saying. That's like, and the thing is though, it's like, and maybe it has something to do with Kevin Feige. I don't know, because Kevin Feige was like an associate producer on like every Marvel property from X-Men to Fantastic Four to Spider-Man, all the way up until like 2008, till he became full-time with Marvel Films when he did Iron Man as a producer. Like, he's like, if you look at his credit, like, he's on everything. He's on the 2 Punisher movies. He's on like the 3 X-Men movies. He's on the 3 Spider-Man movies. He's on the Hulk movie in 2003, which wasn't great, obviously. And a lot of that other stuff, but it's just so weird seeing, like, Spider-Man 2, I think, was like an apex for just kind of like that goofy Spider-Man shit and that goofy Sam Raimi stuff. And it's really those movies have to do with Sam Raimi, and rewatching them, and after seeing The Evil Dead, I can understand his cinematography. Like, oh, okay, this is the things I don't like. And then the X-Men movies, which I haven't watched in forever, I will, eventually go back to rewatch.
But those are just all over the fucking place. But then you get to like even Batman Begins, which was dark and grounded. If you go back and watch it, I know it's highly like touted as a good movie. It didn't do a lot of business.
Right.
I think it only made like $250 million, which is a lot of money. I'm not saying it's not, but for a first movie, you think about like The Dark Knight 3 years later blew up to $1 billion.
Yeah.
And I think that movie was really successful. And I hate to say it like this, I think Heath Ledger's death propelled that movie into a stratosphere. Like, if he didn't die, would that movie have been as successful? Like, it had so much media attention and media coverage because he did pass away before it was released, and everybody's like,
yeah, it's hard to say
because of the Joker role, and
I feel like at the time when I finally did watch that movie, I wasn't even aware of who Heath Ledger was, let alone that he died. I just heard that The Dark Knight was a really good movie, and I watched it, and of course it's a fantastic movie. But
I would say that was 2008. See, I was 18, 2006. I was 20, so you were just 16 at the time.
Yeah, I was
right?
just 16. So
yeah, and I watched a few things like Mel. He was in a Mel Gibson movie, Heath Ledger, The Patriot played his son. I remember that. That's probably the only thing I'd ever watched him of. But I just remember like it being so big, the media attention around this movie. Like, oh my God, he died. And, everybody always talked about it. It's like, I wonder if he died because of the Joker role just took such an effect on. Because everybody wants to romanticize depression.
Yeah, which is foolish, which is so silly. Because when he died, he was filming the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, and that movie is, he died during the filming of that movie, and they ended up coming in and bringing in, because the movie is really weird. I've seen it; it's been a while, but there's like a real world version of the character, which Heath Ledger finished filming all of those parts. So they kept him in that role, but every time he would go into this like fantasy world, he would be a different played by a different actor.
Yeah, Johnny Depp was part of it.
Yeah, Johnny Depp, and there were 3 others, but I can't remember off the top of my head who else was in it. But yeah, so the whole idea of like, oh, the Joker role killed him. No, he was a drug addict. And that's what ultimately killed him.
He suffered he suffered from depression.
Yeah,
and a lot of creative people they feel stuck in their own head, I think, and you can't really escape it. And I don't think he set out that day to OD. It's just something that was happening.
Right.
You get more and more and more. So it's not like when we say it like that, it does come across as kind of insensitive like that because I have.
Yeah, I apologize.
Everybody has family issues.
Yeah, I apologize for that. But
I'm not.
That's what it was. It wasn't like I've read things like, oh, well, he really put his body through the ringer for the Joker role, and he locked himself in a dark room by himself and didn't come out for 2 weeks. And it's like.
That they romanticize him finding the voice of the Joker,
right?
Whereas Michael J. White, who is the crime boss, that why so serious, and he kills him.
Yeah,
and he also plays Spawn in a guilty pleasure movie of mine from the '90s. Said that Heath was like fucking awesome on set. He didn't sit there and brood or anything like that. He would sit there and he was like very interactive with everybody with his scenes.
Yeah.
Like, okay, do you think I should do this? Do you want to say that? Because a lot of the movie had some improv in it. And he was just like, and they were like, he was just super fucking cool about it. He wasn't like inapproachable. Everybody wants to romanticize. And I think Jared Leto wanted to romanticize the theory of playing Joker. That's why he acted all fucking weird.
Yeah. And then you heard about it because all of his co-stars are like, yeah, I mean.
What the fuck is wrong with this guy?
Yeah, what's wrong with this person?
And it's like, oh God. But, I think people romanticize that, and it took on a life of its own, and that movie blew up. But, it changed the scapegoat because that same year, and I'm not saying this was influenced because this was already in production, but they make Iron Man. And Iron Man is kind of a hit, and I don't think MCU hit its stride until you got to the first Avengers movie. I think everybody was like a moderate hit, Iron Man, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America, Hulk.
I mean, I agree.
And then you got to...
And just from my own personal experience with the MCU movies, the first one I watched was Captain America because, for one, I didn't grow up as a fan of the 4 establishing Avengers, right? Like I knew who the Incredible Hulk was, but my only experience with like Iron Man and Captain America was from this old Super Nintendo game I had, and I had never even knew that Thor was a Marvel character. And I watched Captain America first because I was like, oh, it's a World War II movie with a superhero in it. So I think that's kind of cool. I'll watch it. And it was fine. I went back and watched Iron Man and the others, and I thought they're all okay, but they're not incredible. And I even remember watching the first Avengers movie and being like, I didn't like it. I was like, this is boring.
Is Captain America World War II? Is that like Vietnam?
No, it's World War II.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Which one is like in Wonder Woman? Is that World War One?
Yeah, that's World War One.
Okay, because those movies are extremely similar in plot when it comes to that.
Yeah.
But obviously she's a goddess, he's a human. But it was just one of those things that was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I think like the fact that MCU is finally one of these movies that was combining other movie properties into one thing was like a big thing. Even though Marvel, and then by that point Disney owned it. So it was like inevitable that was going to happen. That's what they were leading to. But before that, you're just like, man, could you imagine like, Batman and Superman teaming up? Like, damn, I can't remember his name. The guy who plays Superman, Christopher Reeve, and then Michael Keaton's Batman like teaming up. Like that was a thing that was thought about, or you saw on like the TV shows they had at the time, because there was a Superman TV show called Clark and Lois or something like that. And it's just one of those things, like that was the thing that kind of blew up for comic book movies. And I know this is a weird tangent we're on, but people love our tangents. But it's just one of those things that kind of blew up. But it's so many like stop and goes, because you had like in the middle of all this with the MCU, Sony, like before the MCU, Sony cancels Spider-Man 4, which was supposed to come out in 2010. So 2007, Spider-Man 3 comes out. And that's it for the Sony Spider-Man movies. And in the middle of all this Marvel stuff, they have The Amazing Spider-Man in 2012 and The Amazing Spider-Man 2 in 2014 come out. And then they get canceled. Like, they just can't get it right. Fox does a reboot of Fantastic Four. None of those movies are great, and the last one evidently was really terrible. I've never seen it, so I can't judge it. But then you had other things like The Punisher, which was turned into a Marvel TV show, and all this stuff. And it's just like, MCU really changed the game. And I think people just want something different. And, I like the MCU movies a lot. Like, if I'm going to watch a movie, I'd probably rather watch a comic book movie than just a regular movie at this point, because I think they're fun.
Yeah.
But there was a way that they made MCU relatable. Yeah, they're flying around, they're fighting aliens, but they made all the characters relatable. So it's not grounded like The Dark Knight, whereas Warner Brothers is struggling, if you ask me, to find a way, other than with Aquaman and Wonder Woman.
Well, even Wonder Woman. I mean, the first Wonder Woman movie was really good, but I feel like 1984 tripped.
That movie was bizarre.
It's just the plot is all over the place. I hated how they handled Cheetah. I was excited to see Cheetah as a villain in the movie, and she's only really Cheetah for 5 minutes. It's almost like what they did with Venom back in Spider-Man 3. It's like, wow, we're excited for Venom, but he's only on screen for 10 minutes, and on top of that, he sucks. It just...
I don't appreciate like them bringing Chris Pratt's character back like that. Like, it just feels cheap. Like,
oh, you mean watching Chris Pine's character?
Pine, my bad. I'm such an idiot. It's a Chris. Well, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But him being, like, he's dead. So the whole brooding part of Wonder Woman in Batman vs. Superman is like, you see that picture.
Yeah.
And then leading up to Wonder Woman, oh, I haven't seen this picture in 100 years. I miss him so much. It's been 100 years. Oh, well, I forgot about that little thing in 1984 when his soul came back. It just makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot of things. It's like, why is there a jet in the museum at the Smithsonian that has fuel in it? And how does this pilot from the 1940s know how to fly this jet from the 1980s? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, like, the whole movie's just
bonkers.
Yeah.
The best thing about that movie, though, I'll give it credit on one thing. is when he's trying on clothes. He comes out wearing like these fucking parachute pants and like a fanny pack. What do you think? Yeah, I love it. He's just like that part's really funny to me, and that's like the one part I thought was really good in the movie. Like,
yeah, I mean,
it was only like a 30-second sequence, him trying on clothes, and like that's me. Like I got all these shirts that have holes in it. like around my nipples and all that stuff, and I'll put it on, I'll walk out, and I'll tell Samantha, what do you think? Yeah. She's just like, no. I'm like, yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I mean, the movie definitely it started off good, and then it went so far off the rails. It's such an unlikable movie. But,
off the rails like this podcast.
Yeah, so let's get back to Men in Black, because we have gone on quite the tangent.
People love it though. Alex, that's what Alex listens to podcasts for. So I'm like, you know what? People just find this. Yeah. It's like when we did that one episode where we spent 20 minutes on the movie and then everything else. I can't even remember the movie.
I can't remember what it was. I think it was one of Owen's movies, because we basically, none of us were really feeling the movie. Oh, I remember what it was. It was the second Mad Max movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then I was just like, guys, let's go talk about wrestling real quick. And I told Sarah too. I was just like, Sarah's the manager at the store that I work with, and I told her, I was like, yeah, this episode we talk like it's an hour and 20 minutes, and we spend like 15 on the movie. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. So tell me what you think of. And she was like, yeah, you guys really didn't talk about the movie. I still like the episode, though. I'm like, yeah, I appreciate it. But I think people find it entertaining because it's like the tangents are relatable. So
yeah, plus it's just hard because, like we've already said, we're having to do this episode again, and it's hard to go back and just want to talk about the movie as much, because we did go in depth pretty much on the other episode, but I do want to try and
it's defeating. It is defeating because my equipment was so shitty the last two episodes. It's like, damn, we gotta go back and redo this. I'm gonna do better on The Fugitive than I did before.
Right.
But it's like, fuck, anybody out there that wants to start a podcast, if for some reason you pick our Men in Black episode to start listening to podcasts, make sure you buy USB microphones and not microphones with a microphone jack, because those will mess up
constantly. Yeah.
And it's like I always have to keep spares in my backpack at all times, and they're pretty much useless now. But yeah, I would always go USB if you could, just to give you a heads up.
So we did kind of just give a brief overview of the plot earlier. What did you think?
I guess we could talk about what's your favorite moments of the movie.
Well, I talked about my favorite comedic moment. Gosh, there are a few moments I do want to point out that I really like. Of course, there's the famous cricket scene where he gets the cricket gun, and he thinks it's some kind of joke, and of course it blows him back every time he fires it. And I love it's very brief in this movie, but the introduction of Frank, the pug. Mm-hmm. Where he's like, I can't remember what he says, but like Kay's like shaking him when he's talking to him, trying to get him to answer his question.
Like, he owes my buddy's money. He owes my buddy money. That was hilarious. And I was looking up that character Frank. He was played by the same pug in part 1 and in part 2. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, that pug died in real life. So that's why he doesn't have a part in part 3. There's a picture of him, though.
Oh,
and gotcha. I think in like the newest movie, there's a scene, I don't know if it's a CGI pug. I have never seen it, obviously. And in Men in Black International. And it's supposed to be the same pug. But yeah, that was actually the same like dog in the first movie and the second one. But unfortunately, it passed away after the second one.
Yeah, in the second one, he has a much bigger role in the film. He's actually Jay's partner for a while. And but for most of the movie, he works as sort of like Chief Zed's assistant, I guess. But mm-hmm. I mean, very good on them, because they must have had test audiences say like, we love Frank, and it was good that they went in.
And the pug was a good like dog actor too. Like I read that the director loved working with that dog.
Yeah,
like, I want to put a bigger part. Like I guess the dog was just like super cooperative with everything.
Yeah. So,
which pugs are awesome anyway. Like all dogs are great in my opinion, but pugs are like a special sort of like ugly, cute at the same time. I know they're real snotty because their breathings are real bad and stuff like that, but they just have the cutest fucking face.
But yeah, I would say that the table moment during the interview, the introduction of Frank, and the cricket scene are my favorite moments in the film. What about for you?
I would say Frank, and then the bug when he's a human walking around like Frankenstein's monster. What's the actor's name again?
Vincent D'Onofrio.
What? Vincent D'Onofrio. That dude, he's a good actor anyway.
Yeah.
Like, really good actor. And I watched him quite a few times on Law and Order, obviously. But he is wonderful in a role that you don't think should be wonderful. Like, the way he plays off, like, him, like, the way he walks and shit, like, he's getting stiff because of rigor mortis. Which, in reality, if you think about it, really wouldn't make sense since he's just wearing the skin.
I don't think it's the rigor mortis though. I think what it is just because the bug is so big and he's trying to fit inside of the skin without bursting through it. So I think that's why he struggles to walk so much. And a quick note about the walking, something I found out. The way he achieved that walking, he wore knee braces so he could like lock his knees in place. And he taped his ankles up, and that's why he walked. That's how he achieved that walk. An interesting thing about, and we talked about this on the previous time we recorded this, but the listeners don't know that.
They'll never know that.
I didn't notice it out of all the times I watched it growing up, and of course VHS quality is garbage. But I noticed it watching it for this. Throughout the film, the skin that the bug is wearing is like decaying slowly throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Which it's just such a neat little touch. And again, because VHS quality sucks, you don't really notice it as well as you do on something like
VHS
Blu-ray.
quality is the CGI bug better looking on VHS quality?
Yeah, because the quality's low enough that it helps cover it up some. But watching it on Blu-ray, it's like, oh boy, like that's the one special effect in this movie that genuinely looks bad. And you're talking about at the end when he like burst out and they're doing the final battle, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he looks terrible on the Blu-ray, but VHS quality was able to cover some of that up anyway.
Yeah, I wonder, like, you always think about like what movies were never meant to be seen in high resolution because it would just ruin everything. You know, there's a lot of them because they like, we got to put everything high resolution on DVD. Now it's even higher resolution with Blu-ray.
Yeah.
It's even higher resolution with 4K Blu-ray. And it's like,
oh yeah, 4K exposes a lot. I mean, especially in like movies from like the 70s and stuff where they used a lot of practical effects. And it's like, you can definitely tell that this is off, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. It's just one of those things you think about. Okay, but yeah, I think that, you know, anything with him walking around as a human, the bug and Frank are really good. The morgue scene is always funny to me when they, you know, undo the dead carcass's face and you see that little baby alien thing in his head.
Yeah.
And the way he got stabbed, he shouldn't have got stabbed because he's literally in the middle of his face and he got stabbed in his neck. So it's one of those things you're just like, that's always like funny. But, you know, other than like, you know, like I said, you have to just watch the movie to see like kind of the childish humor. Of course, a lot of people probably wouldn't find that funny like I did. I just genuinely did enjoy watching the movie the first time. And it's not something I regret at all. So I'll go ahead and skip to my recommendation part of it. I do recommend this movie at least for, you know, always going back to the safe answer. At least for a one watch, it's a definite recommend. And if you like it more, you'll watch the whole series or you'll watch this movie more. If you don't, it's not a waste of your time. So I think it's a good movie.
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, I definitely recommend it. It still holds up today. Watching it,
but just on VHS though.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, it holds up. The actors are fantastic. It's a fantastic cast of actors. Funny. You know, the story is cohesive. It makes sense. And again, it sets up one of the better sequels that exist, period. I mean, Men in Black 2 is also a fantastic movie, which I may do that for this someday, but we'll see.
It's a little too close to like, God, I don't want to watch this movie again type of deal.
Yeah, especially because after I watched this, I immediately jumped in to watch Men in Black 2. So it was like, not too long ago where I watched both of these movies. I'm sorry if we didn't talk a lot about the film. Like I said, we recorded this before, and technical issues, we had to throw the audio away. And
technical issues is Lance's fault because his equipment was trash, so it's not Cody's fault.
Well,
and it's not like a we fault. This is a Lance fault. I'll go ahead and take the blame.
Yeah, I mean, our microphones were cheap microphones anyway, and they would pick up a lot of static and noise. But Lance's mic, for some reason, it was like picking up a lot of heavy distortion, and sometimes I would be able to cut around that sort of stuff, but it was happening.
Not Skrillex distortion either. Like
it's not like it was happening in like moments of the podcast that were important to the discussion, so it just was unusable. So sorry if it doesn't feel like we talked enough about this movie. I try to put more,
and hopefully this recording's better.
Yeah,
I'm about to find out. Once I stop, I'll play back real quick and skip through a few parts.
Yeah, and I did try to squeeze some more interesting facts in this time just to make up for that. But I guess we've already talked about that our next film is going to be The Fugitive.
Yeah.
And then
Part 2, not The Fugitive Part 2, but our episode Part 2.
Yeah, because that's
Part 2 in our discussion of The Fugitive.
Yeah, that's the other episode we have to re-record. And then we will be back on track. We will be doing Small Soldiers, which will be Owen's movie. And
which is not a bad movie.
Yeah, it's actually surprisingly to me held up better than I thought it would.
It's pretty funny, man. I like the Argonauts a lot. When we'll get that movie, we'll get that discussion. But I was actually surprised, like how unbored I was of the movie. If that makes sense, because it's like, the CGI is gonna be terrible, but
yeah,
it was a pretty good little movie. And not the main actor, but his neighbor, that guy, is a big voice actor.
Mm-hmm.
He plays I can't remember the character's name, but he's the guy on The Simpsons. Like, hi, you've seen me on this, and he's the actor in The Simpsons.
He's
like
also I think he also plays the neighbor in Jingle All the Way.
I think he does. I think you're right. Yeah,
the one that's trying to hook up with Arnold's wife.
He's a funny like character actor. That guy. Yeah, like he has just like a wonderful voice. It's very recognizable. Like, hi, and.
Yeah,
he tries to cut down that tree. He goes, "What? What do you want me to stop?"
Sweet. Yeah. But all right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Right. If you like this episode, smash that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter at FilmoscopyPod. Please share the episode if you enjoy it, or go back and share some of the old episodes if you enjoyed those more. It don't hurt my feelings, but we would like to build up a bigger listener base.
And if you don't like this episode, share it anyway.
Share it anyway and say, hey, listen to these clowns and their dumbass opinions on certain things.
How can they not like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? Actually, it's just one guy. I'm going to hate on this guy. I'm going to hate listening to all their episodes because of this guy.
How could that one guy criticize the first episode of Boba Fett like that?
I know, tell me about it. It's the same motherfucker that didn't like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Do you see a trend here?
Until next time, see ya.
On Dragon Ball Z. Bye, everybody. Myself. Hello, my little pussy is gyrating on the gear shift of the car. Alright, now I picked up a burp.